Thanks, guys. You're all very welcome to our webinar here today. My own name is Dan Hochter. I'm Manager and Technology Recruiter at Morgan McKinley in Cork. I'm delighted to say I'm joined today by David O'Reilly, Director of Tax at Finero, and Jackie Gaughan, Network and Partner Manager at Finero also. I suppose the reason for today, guys, is just we wanted to run this webinar again. We had a very successful version of this just over 12 months ago now, and it was very well received on the market. And I suppose the second reason is in the last kind of 12 months or so, in that time, we've seen a huge shift towards the requirement for contract resources from our clients in Cork and the regions in particular, and also up in Dublin. So we wanted to just give people a chance to kind of educate themselves and provide some information around contracting as a viable option for people who are on the market considering roles at the moment. So we're going to, like Dave said, keep it kind of conversational. The chat is open there to throw some questions at us. We're going to have a nice voucher to give away towards the end of the webinar, so do listen carefully. There will be a question put to the floor there, and you can put your answers back into the chat there, and we'll announce the winner at the end. So look, hopefully you'll get lots of information from here, and without further ado, now I'll hand you over to Dave, who will take you through the slide deck. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So kind of, yeah, want to make this kind of as interactive as possible. My background is tax, folks, so you have me for the next kind of maybe kind of half hour. The presentation will take. I'm going to stay on as long as you need me, so I'll stay on kind of for a Q&A session at the end, kind of, and we can drill down to your own specific questions. I see kind of Dom's at this submitting a question there. Yeah, it's kind of, is that a very large wine glass on the table in the background? So is that how Morgan McKinney roll? Kind of big, huge wine glasses. Very good. It
question. Is how we roll, but it's not a wine glass in this particular picture, no.
I'm going to share my screen here. Can you see that?
We can.
Yep.
Super. All right, so today's kind of going to talk about kind of contracting in Ireland. We're going to take a look at kind of contracting versus employee. The potential benefits for you if you decide to take up a contracting role, some common objections and considerations. We get kind of a lot of these. One of the most popular that we're seeing at the moment is mortgages. Can contractors get mortgages? We'll run through that, give you some top tips, and then kind of we'll do Q&A session kind of at the end. But please kind of submit your questions kind of as we go. Colleague Jackie there kind of will shout them out, and we can kind of deal with them kind of as we fly. As mentioned, I will stay on at the end and stay as long as you need to answer to your specific questions. So starting at the start, what is contracting? So I like to look at it kind of from a contract perspective. So legal document perspective, you have a contract for service versus a contract of service. So really contractors, what do? You're providing a service. So you're not an employee, you're not a temp, kind of you're providing a service, and you get this kind of documents. It's called a contract for service. It states your start date, the end date, how much kind of you're going to be paid per hour, per day, and the services that you're going to provide to the client. So it's quite different from kind of the employment contract that you receive. Big believer kind of in terminology, and kind of it's good to know, okay, kind of what are you called, kind of independent consultant, contractor. In Ireland, it's very important, it's crucial that kind of if you want to go contracting, you have to provide your services through a limited company. So you will become kind of a limited company contractor. So historically, kind of people kind of used to be sole traders, but especially kind of in the areas that are really common in Ireland, like what's it, engineering, IT, pharmaceutical, actuary, finance, kind of you need to have a limited company. And I'll go through kind of the options that are going to be open to you and the potential kind of benefits of each option. So let's kind of take a look at kind of global trends and contracting. Kind of it's on the increase across the globe, and historically kind of what was led by industry. With kind of the nature of contracting work, it's very good for project-based work. If you're kind of building a pharmaceutical plant or some IT platform, you know, okay, kind of roughly how long it's going to take. And it's from a company's perspective, it's good to take on these highly paid, highly specialized people kind of for a fixed period of time, which matches up with the project-based work. A lot of kind of we've been kind of a business 13 years, and what we see kind of normally kind of the higher skilled individuals kind of go contracting, and when companies kind of looking to make immediate impact, get somebody who hits the ground running, quite often they'll take a look at taking on a contractor as opposed to kind of a permanent member of staff. Something happened though kind of over the years, and people started to like it. They started to like the flexibility, started to like the money. And in Finero, kind of 2/3 of all of the kind of the inquiries we've received in 2022 are people who've new to contracting, so they've never contracted before, which kind of is quite high considering kind of every year kind of number of inquiries we receive kind of increases, but 2/3 is the number kind of that kind of people who've never contracted before, so they're fresh. In terms of the benefits, okay, so kind of if you've never contracted before, you may be considering kind of, okay, why would you kind of take the leap? Why would you change how you're working? And quite often kind of we ask kind of the people kind of that we speak to, why you take on a contract role, especially if it's their first time contracting. Money, as you imagine, kind of is top of the pops kind of in terms of kind of the reasons why people kind of take on contract roles. Contractors get paid more money than their permanent equivalents. How much money, how much more? Kind of, we would be rare that we would see somebody kind of below taking on kind of a 25% increase. So kind of 25% up kind of will be kind of the norm for kind of the individuals that we speak to. The ability to claim expenses. So this is a massive benefit for somebody taking on a contract role. So they can claim expenses, and that reduces their taxable income. To put it kind of in money's kind of worth, kind of for every €100 of expenses a contractor claims, they get €50 back in tax. So it can be quite beneficial to claim business expenses. I'll give you some examples in a couple of minutes of the types of expenses that contractors can claim, and potentially you take up a contract role that you could possibly claim. Gain experience quickly. This is more Dan's kind of field, but we do see people kind of take on contract roles because they want to get specific experience in quite a niche area. So if they take on a contract role, kind of, I don't know, to become a scrum master or kind of more kind of Dan's fields, I do the tax, Dan does the kind of the everything else really. But so we have seen people take on contract roles for that. Increased flexibility, work-life balance, more freedom and control. I kind of group these three together. What we've seen, kind of, we have quite a few individuals that we assist. And kind of some of the kind of the younger generation, they may work kind of 6 months, take a few holidays, and then take 3 months off, or work 9 months and take 3 months off. We have quite a few parents kind of who would take the summers off, and others who kind of come to us and say, okay, I'm on X, I'm on €65,000 per year, and kind of I have this contract all over here, kind of offering X amount. How many days kind of do I need to work to kind of to earn this amount? I'm happy earning this money, but kind of I want to reduce the number of days kind of worked. So we do get quite a few people kind of who come to us with that as well. So we'll work out, okay, how many days you need to work, taking everything in consideration to come out with the same amount of money, but work less days. We did a survey there kind of last year, and surprisingly kind of our contractor base, and 15% kind of the individuals we surveyed mentioned that kind of the reason why they went contracting was to get away from office politics. So their view was kind of leaving everything at the door when they went home, which can be quite powerful kind of if that's an issue where they were. So there was some of the potential benefits. Money kind of obviously kind of quite up there, but then kind of work-life balance, office politics kind of coming into it as well. The options kind of open, so you have to use a limited company. So really, you have two options open to you, okay? The first one is you can set up under an umbrella company. For those of you who've never heard of what an umbrella company is, or not sure, it's a company that's already in existence, so it's sitting there. It's going to issue the invoices for the work you do and then pay you. So it's a company already in existence. You do the work, the company invoices for the work that you do, and then it pays you. It's a very simple solution, and I'd highly recommend anybody who's new to contracting, kind of for the first time, go with the umbrella company. They're quick, they're easy, and kind of there's kind of you can get set up within about 20 minutes and walk away kind of with kind of no obligations. The second option is you can set up your own personal service company. Now, as a taxman, I love this option because kind of it gives the most tax planning opportunities. But it kind of, in terms of kind of, it's your first time, start out with your umbrella company and then kind of consider kind of maybe 3 months into the contract or kind of your first renewal, you know, kind of, will I benefit from having my own limited company? And that's where kind of you come to us, have a chat, and we can say, okay, kind of these are the potential benefits, and we apply them to your specific situation. Can't have a presentation without talking about tax planning. That's the tax nerd in me. So kind of some of the options open to you kind of if you decide to go contracting. So if I was purchasing a company car, if it's fully electric, if I was looking at getting a new car and it was a fully electric vehicle, I would 100% purchase it through a company. The reason being that there's 0% benefit in kind. It cuts the cost of purchasing a car pretty much in half, especially in 2022. So government wants everyone to go kind of green, go electric. So they've incentivized individuals to purchase fully electric vehicles through their companies. After 2022, that benefit starts to go down each year until 2025, but still kind of it makes complete sense. If you're getting a fully electric vehicle, get it through the company because it's 0% benefit kind up to a car costing €50,000. Payment to a spouse. So if you're married, you're in a kind of a one income family, it can be beneficial to put your spouse on as a secretary, second director, pay them a small salary. Can't go mad, but can increase the retention of you as a family unit. Pensions, you get 52% tax relief on pension contributions made as a contractor. So it's the highest tax relief you can get. And kind of if you set up an executive pension, you can really kind of put in kind of significantly higher contributions than you can do kind of into likes of PRSA. So if you kind of if you're getting towards kind of retirement age and you know kind of I want to put lump sums into my pension, but I'm restricted because of my kind of percentage on your age, contracting could be kind of a great way to kind of increase the amount of pension contributions you can make. Entrepreneur relief, won't get into this kind of hugely, but if you're, and this is kind of, it's very good kind of myself kind of as a tax consultant, if I know what's your contracting career plans. So if I know, okay, kind of I'm going to commit to contracting for, let's say 3 years, I say, okay, limited company could be beneficial for you. And if you have disposable contract income, so if you don't need to draw down all of the contracting income as salary, you can start building this up in the company, build a cash kitty. Then after 3 years, you can take this out at a much reduced rate of 10% capital gains tax. So it's definitely kind of some tax planning if we can marry up your contracting career plan and the reliefs available to companies. Expenses, touched on that already. I'm going to do a little bit more on that later. Remote working considerations. So we have a few contractors that, like a lot of people working from home, and some people kind of they don't have the home office, a spare room to work from. So they've gone and they purchased the home office pods. Kind of these are kind of the wooden buildings. They look pretty cool, and they can be quite expensive. So if you're a contractor, you work from home, you want to get one of these, purchasing one through your company can cut the cost of that in half for you. And so they are quite expensive. You can go from 10,000 to 20,000 and upwards. Sometimes I get asked the question, okay, office pod is cool, but can I build kind of extension, or can I build kind of an office, kind of more physical one in the back garden? The answer is kind of yes, but there's some terms and conditions apply. So kind of I would like to see kind of committing to contracting for kind of for a decent amount of time. You can't kind of go contracting for 6 months, build kind of something in the back garden, and then kind of close the company down. That will cause tax issues. So there's lots in the whole tax planning. Generally kind of and feel free to kind of submit your questions on that, and kind of I can go through kind of answer them kind of based on your situation. Expenses. So business expenses are a contractor's friend. Some examples include computer equipment and software. So like kind of self-explanatory, kind of laptops and stuff like that. Upskilling kind of very important for everyone, especially for contractors. And you can kind of put through college courses, training, subscriptions, and they do have to relate to what you're doing in the contract. You can't be, I don't know, kind of a Java developer and going off and want to do a photography course. So they have to relate to what you do in the contract. Mobile phone and home broadband. Again, these are kind of, it's cutting the cost in half of your phone, especially kind of working from home. Travel expenses. Didn't see the amount of them claimed kind of over the last couple of years, the COVID years, dropped significantly. So we didn't really see kind of too many of them, but it is possible to claim them. The rule is you have to be traveling away from your normal place of work. So kind of revenue don't like paying kind of travel expenses tax-free if you travel from your home to your normal place of work. But if you're traveling away from that, you can claim it. E-workers allowance, great one, 3 or 20. It's not going to set the world alight, but works at a 700 euro per year. So it's definitely kind of worth claiming if you are working from home. If you have your own company, you can claim more expenses. So kind of we had touched on the company car, kind of home office expenses, rent. Sometimes you get asked, can I claim a portion of the rent? You can kind of if you're working from home and you have your own company and you're incurring this, so let's say kind of you move from a 1-bed to a 2-bed, it's possible to claim the difference between kind of the cost of kind of you living where you were, you move to a bigger place so that you can actually work from home. Relocation expenses, this kind of is really good one. So if you have to relocate to take on a contract role, and then let's say kind of you move from Cork to Galway or Dublin to Cork, you can claim the first 3 months rent as a business expense and plus 1,400 euro on top of that. So it can be quite beneficial from a kind of a tax reduction perspective to claim relocation expenses. There's a caveat, you have to be traveling over 100 kilometers, okay? So you can't be kind of moving down the road and saying, I'm going to claim my first 3 months. Have to be kind of sizable distance. Wherever you say sizable is 100 kilometers, which is fair enough. The general rule kind of that kind of I mentioned to people is kind of they have to, when you're claiming expenses, they have to relate to the contract and keep them reasonable. So kind of in terms of kind of your home office, kind of I've never seen revenue argue about kind of an expensive chair, especially kind of if it's good for back support. If you go out and you purchase the mahogany table for kind of putting your laptop on, they may have a kind of may question that. So kind of keep the expenses reasonable. A quick comparison for umbrella versus a personal service company. Again, if you need to contracting, I highly recommend test the water kind of with the umbrella company. The setup is really easy. Get you set up for 20 minutes. So there is kind of some downside control. You're sharing this company kind of with other contractors, so it's not yours to do it as you wish. So you have kind of limited control. And that kind of carries on then through the tax planning opportunities. Kind of you can't kind of purchase any vehicles or kind of do the high-end tax planning with umbrella company. That's more for when you have your personal service company, but they're easy. And the cost kind of the pay as you go, kind of you only pay for the period that kind of you use it. And the retention is good. Like you do kind of have the ability to claim expenses. If we compare that with the personal service company, the setup is a bit longer. So kind of maybe 1 to 2 weeks to set up, then we have to register company for taxes. So if you are taking on a contract and it's starting next week, what I'd recommend is start with the umbrella company and then kind of we could get going with setting up your personal service company in the background, and you can make a switch across once it's ready to use. In terms of control, it's your company, do it as you wish. Kind of your umbrella company provider will give you some advice, but it is your company. It's definitely the most tax efficient way of working. Administration is a little bit more, so you have to manage the bank account, you have to pay yourself, and kind of each month kind of submit all the records. So your bookkeeping records to a company like Finero, and we'll do everything else. So kind of it's very easy to kind of to run these companies. Costs 149 euro per month, so it's not hugely expensive. The umbrella company cost is kind of for completeness. There's two options: umbrella POE and the umbrella director. The umbrella director gives you kind of greater retention, and it's by far the most popular option that kind of that we would have. The cost for us is €119 per month, but again, that qualifies as an expense, so you're looking at €57 each month at the actual cost. There's no setup fees, no extra fees, and kind of your insurance as well is covered under this. So kind of it's cost is not a prohibitive factor. Okay, objections and myths. So kind of, as I mentioned, kind of we deal with a lot of people new to contracting, and in terms of the question for your voucher, what percentage of inquiries do Finero receive in 2022 that were people new to contracting? Could have said that clearer. So in 2022, what percentage of inquiries did Finero receive that were people new to contracting? If you kind of submit your answers through the chat or the Q&A, and Jackie shall pass down the winner at the end of this. There's objections. So sometimes we speak with people and they mention that they're concerned about losing their social welfare protection. That's kind of that safety net, that job seekers benefit. And historically, kind of there was quite a bit of a difference between employees and self-employed from a social welfare perspective. But that gap has really narrowed, especially after 2019. Self-employed individuals do get job seekers benefit. So kind of that safety net kind of is there. So you don't lose your social welfare protection by taking on contract roles. Going for mortgage, this is the most popular concern that we receive. So talk to individuals and they like the look of the contract role, they like the daily rate, but they're considering going for mortgage and they don't want to mess that up. So say kind of how does this work? So I can categorically say contractors do get mortgages. Not a week goes by in Finero that we don't assist one of our contractors secure kind of a mortgage. There's a caveat, okay? Timing is really important. So we're at the start kind of 2022. So if you're going for a mortgage in 2022, kind of go to the bank, and banks love box ticking, kind of not against box ticking. I love to tick a box every now and again, but you love it. So kind of if you're going for, let's say, kind of the umbrella director option, one of the boxes that you're going to have to tick is give us a copy of last year's income tax return. So if you don't have an income tax return for 2021, that's going to kind of delay you getting your mortgage. So what we would say is kind of when we get these questions is, when are you going for the mortgage? It's okay, 2022. Okay, have you got an income tax return for last year? Yeah, fine, go with the director. No, go with the kind of the umbrella POA option. You not ask for that, and you can start the contract role straight away. If you want to set up your own personal service company, again, we'll ask you the question, when are you going for a mortgage? If you're saying, okay, 2022 or 2023, we'll say, don't set up your personal service company because the bank's going to ask for 1 to 2 years accounts. And this is a brand new company, because that's going to be down the road. Most banks will allow 1 year's accounts, but you're still looking kind of towards the end of 2023 before kind of you can give that to the bank and they can take that box. So we say kind of we push that individual towards the umbrella director option, and then when kind of they secure the mortgage, they draw the funds down, then they can set up their own personal service company. So contracting doesn't impact kind of get a mortgage, but the timing and the option kind of is very important. Sometimes we get concerns that people say kind of they're going to lose the state pension benefit. So they've 10, 15 years built up as an employee, and kind of they don't want to lose those pension contributions. You don't lose them. Kind of they just get carried forward, and your self-employed contributions will count towards that. It's complicated, expensive. It's not. Do you not get paid holiday pays, or do you not get paid holidays or sick leave? So it is true, you don't get paid sick leave. You get paid for days worked as a contractor. In terms of holidays, so your daily rate encompasses your holidays. So quite often we'll speak with people and we'll ask, okay, many, especially if they're moving from a perm job, many holidays have you got? Many do you want? And we'll work out kind of what they're going to earn based on the number of holidays that they expect to take. Now, I like to use the figure of 220 days. So kind of estimates somebody's going to work a maximum of 220 days per year as a contractor. So that gives them 40 days off per year. So that's 30 days annual leave and the 10 public holidays. And then some people say, well, kind of, I want more holidays, I want less, and we'll work out kind of what's the earnings going to be. But your holidays are incorporated into your daily or your hourly rate. All right, individuals new to contracting, tips and advice. If you're new, you never contracted before, get prepared for selling yourself. This is kind of where like Dan kind of comes in from a CV perspective, kind of put your experience, chronological order. LinkedIn, kind of you want to get found, and kind of people kind of like Dan, they're going to find you through LinkedIn. So put contractor or kind of a good description kind of on your LinkedIn and kind of update that straight away. Use a good contract recruiter. I always say kind of they're good contract recruiters, not just for Christmas, but for life. And I do mean that. So kind of keep, kind of if you venture into the world of contracting, keep in contact with your recruiter, kind of let them know kind of what's working, what's not working, where you want to go. Kind of, do you want to get an extension? Do you want to move somewhere else? And they'll be able to, in the background, kind of setting stuff up for you, kind of, so it dovetails with kind of when your contract finishes. Take advantage. So kind of the flexibility, the benefits, tax planning. You have opportunities available to you as a contractor that are not available to permanent employees. So make sure kind of you are taking advantage of them. Use a good umbrella company provider. I know a very good one. Kind of, I won't say any names, but kind of yeah, leave it there. If you listen, if anybody kind of has a whistle stop tour through, if anybody has any questions, kind of, and they kind of want kind of a chat, feel free kind of reach out to Hello from Aero. We'll go through kind of your specific circumstances and give you advice. So, what a quick tour through that, Dan.
Super, Dave. Thanks very much. Very efficient there and not taking up too much time for everybody there, guys. So plenty of time for your lunch, and still lots of information there as well. So thanks a million. Guys, if there's any questions you want to put to either myself or Dave, feel free to shout there now.
As mentioned, kind of if anybody has any questions that kind of do you want to kind of chat through, kind of give Dan or kind of myself kind of a call after this or anytime.
Dave, there's just one question in there around VAT, and it's from Dom Lubston, and Dom just wants to know VAT liabilities and what are the issues? Yep,
VAT is not an expense for businesses, so kind of it's a red herring. So the umbrella company is registered for VAT, and when kind of you do your services, the umbrella company will charge VAT on top. Don't get excited, you don't get to keep it, okay? So kind of your umbrella company charge the VAT and then pay that across the revenue. If you set up your own personal service company, VAT will be charged on the services that you do, but as it gets paid across the revenue. So kind of it's not a cost, but it's not income. So kind of it's not a real issue. It's more kind of it's a job for the accountants, and the accountants love dealing with that.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dom.
Super. Thanks, Dave.
So, guys, yeah, I think that's a wrap. Jackie, do you have the winner of the question?
I do. I'll pop it to you now.
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please.
Another drum roll there, Dave. Hey, Dan, did you get
Perfect.
that?
Yeah, I do. And the winner is Dom as well. Dom, who just asked that last question there. So congratulations, Dom. I'll be in touch with you there via email afterwards, and we'll get your prize sent out to you, okay? Well done, Dom. Thanks a million, guys. Thanks for everyone who joined in, guys. And what I would just say in summary, I suppose, is just do explore the opportunities in the contract world as well for yourselves, guys, because sometimes the better role day to day on paper company could be that contract option. So don't dismiss it too quickly. Have a chat either with ourselves or the experts in that field. Finero, they're very happy to help at any stage. There's no obligation to follow through or accept a role or to take a contract, but what I would just say is just explore it. Ask the questions, depend on your own personal situation at that time, because there's some great opportunities out there. So do have a look and don't dismiss it too quickly. But thanks a million for joining. Thanks, Dave, for that. It was excellent information there. Thanks, Jackie. Always a pleasure dealing with you guys. And thanks, guys. See you soon.